this project, I want to give you some more experience working with conditional if structures. We're going to create a very simple application in which the user enters a number, an integer, and we're going to tell them whether the integer is even or odd. So I'm going to start by creating a new Windows Form app. I'm going to call this 03D, even or odd. And here then is my project. I don't need anything too big. Just going to shrink up my form a little bit. I'll pull the properties over here where you can see them better. For the title on my form, we're just going to say even or odd. And then I'm going to add a label. And the text of the label will be to enter an integer. And then to the right of that label, we're going to put a text box. Let's put a default value of 15. I want to name this text box. I'm just going to call it txt_num, capital N, txt_num, capital N. And then we'll have a button. I'll name the button btn even or odd. And the text of that button will be, is it even or odd? And again, I'm going to shrink this up even a little bit more. So there's our interface, very simple. I'm going to drag my properties over and dock them. No longer need those. We're just going to code our is it even or odd button. Double click, there's our stub for the handling of btn even or odd underscore click. Just to get some experience with the try catch that we've looked at before, we'll do a try catch structure here. And we'll do an exception of error, or ERR, error. And so if something goes wrong, I'm going to do a MessageBox.show, and we will show ERR.message. And my title will be something went wrong. And we'll just have it do an OK button. Need my semicolon. And so now inside the try, we're going to create a variable for our integer. I'm going to call it mynum equals int.parse. And what we want to parse is our txt_num text box and the text value of that text box. And this is probably where we will throw in an exception, is if there's not a number in there, then this would generate an exception. And this way, with the try catch, it won't crash our program, and we'll get the error message. Hopefully this will never run because the user will have used this correctly. But we will test the catch portion of this when we run it. So we now have the number that we put into the text box as an integer called mynum. I want to know if that's even or odd. So we can do an if structure. If mynum, I'm going to take the modulus operator, that's our %sign, and divide that by 2. So I'm going to get the remainder of division by 2. If that remainder is 0, we know we have an even number. And so what I'm going to do then is create a message box. And the prompt is going to be mynum dot toString, and we'll concatenate to that is an even number. and our title will simply be even. I'm just going to use an OK button, so I'm not going to add any buttons there. And I'm getting a squiggly because I didn't put parentheses after my toString. Okay, that causes the squiggly to go away, and there no longer appears to be an error there. That's going to be the extent of our if, but then we'll add an else fork. And this is going to be if the modulus operator dividing my num by 2 is not 0, then it's going to be an odd. And I'm just going to copy this line of code, paste, and we'll change this to odd. And I'll change my title of that dialog to be odd. So that is our code, and we're including some error handling here, which is good programming practice, particularly when we're converting a user input string into a number. We probably want to use try catch to do that, because that's where something can go wrong. If the user enters ABC for that number, or they enter nothing for that number, that would throw an exception. Let's test this, see if it worked. So we have 15 as the default value. Is it even or odd? Well, we're told 15 is an odd number. Well, what if we make that 8? 8 is an even number. Three, 5, 7, 7. 3577 is an odd number, and if we simply change that maybe to 3570, then we're told that's an even number. But if we don't enter anything, we get the something went wrong dialog box. The input string was not in the correct format. That same thing would happen here if we did ABC, not in the correct format. What if we did something like 3.4? Again, that was not in the correct format. It's got to be an integer, and that's what we've told our user, enter an integer. So our try catch is also working very well, and that is our even or odd project.